tall on your feet. Later make up the difference. Toss and turn in your sleep. Family, I know you miss it. Shoot and rock from the streets. Starting to get the picture. Fight for your life to feed. Watch how you turn out winning. This shit just easy me. I pray to God.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Unleashed GodCast with another episode. For those of you new, welcome. This is a GodCast, it's a podcast where we get on here. Us three gentlemen, we get on here, we talk about a plethora of different things. Typically, it's 3 topics we dive into, and we give our take on it, we give our opinion, we give our answer, you can say, on it. We don't claim to be any experts on majority of these topics, but if we do have extenuous, or that's not the word I want to use, I don't think that's the actual word. If we do have if we do have a vast amount of knowledge on the topic, we will say so. Yeah, for those of you turning, welcome back. We know we missed last week, but you know, shit happens in life, you know what I'm saying? But we're back. Yeah, that's all I got. You got anything to open?
Nope.
Bet. So let's get right into today's topics. The first topic is going to be, are humans better at creation or destruction? Hey man, we some destructive motherfuckers.
You going into it?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, damn, atomic bombs, you know what I'm saying? Nukes and shit.
Ooh, I was gonna talk on that a little bit, because mine's gonna be a little bit long-winded, because I'm gonna do a little bit of history with it.
Well, I haven't gave it this much thought, actually. But just actually, let me adjust this real quick. Just thinking about it though, it's like we got the bombs, like I just mentioned, bombs and shit creating, people bombing cities, destruction of different groups of people. But then again, on the flip side, you got creation, like how much life is on this earth, you know what I'm saying? Like just from humans. I mean, you can say that we breed animals to destroy them, you know what I'm saying, for food and stuff. I mean, honestly, now that I say it all like this, there ain't that much creation. Well, yes, there is. Okay. There's creation of ideas, you know? Okay. There's like, yeah, oh my fucking God. I mean, creation of people, animals, and ideas, but there's way more destruction. I would say we're better at destruction than, I mean, once you guys jump in, I might add a little bit more, but.
I think it's pretty even, man. I think we like 50-50 as far as creating and destroying. Because for like every atomic bomb or war or overuse the resource, like there's a positive in creation that the human race has done as well. Like what's the thing? Like whether it's scientists developing a material that doesn't pollute the environment, or it's biodegradable, or it has a different use as it breaks down, or, you know, like the introduction of science alone has led to great creations, but also the introduction of science has also created, like you said, like the atom bomb and everything like that. So I'm gonna take a 50-50 stance.
So I think I'm probably gonna shock everyone who knows me, and people who've been following, and they kind of know I'm a little bit of a negative Nancy, or I'm too real, too black and white. I think we're way better at creation than we are destruction. And the reason I say that, when you look at history, pre-Cold War, pre-World.
Hey, you mute yourself. You muted, man. Somebody don't want him to talk, man. They're like, change your answer now.
Stop trying to tell us some secret stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You muted us, bro.
Oh my.
Huh?
You muted us.
No, I didn't.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, well, that was a bleeper of a blooper. But anyway, when you look at history, we were kind of slow in development, right? And I heard this from another podcast that I listened to, but he said, you know, if you were to be a soldier in year 700, went in a time portal and went to year 1200, the armor would be about the same, the war tactics would be about the same, and then even the year 1200 AD to 1600, 1500 AD. The only difference around 1600 AD would be the muskets, but everything else would be pretty much the same. But then if you were to be a soldier in the early 1900s, pre-World War I, and you went in a time capsule to the 50s, totally different. And then from the 50s to today, way different. And the reason that is because of the Cold War. But the standoff with us and Russia, or the USSR at the time, it was the development of subsonic planes and missiles and satellites that can go into space and take pictures and everything else. And the reason that is because we didn't know how to spy. So all of our CIA agents were getting captured and killed in the USSR, and they were killing us in the spy game. But we beat them in the technology boom. And that was partially because we took a lot of the Nazi scientists after World War II. It was either stay in USSR or, hey, come be a scientist for America, and life is a lot better. So a lot of the creations were kind of made as fail-safes, like the atom bombs and intercontinental nukes and everything like that. But it's like self-assured mutual destruction, and nobody wins. Now, with all of that being said, the technology that's been created since, right? Look at the medical science. I mean, people's lives are way better quality of life. Older people live a lot longer. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that people in their 30s and 40s were considered old timers, you know. In today's world, that's still like, nah, you're young, you got more than half your life ahead of you, you know, because a lot of people, if I'm not mistaken, kick the bucket in their 80s in the US. So I think we're a lot better at creation than we are destruction. Another reason would be is look at things that have been created. Like, I'm gonna talk about millennials. A lot of people say millennials suck and we're the generation without cause. That's funny because these people are the same ones who subscribe to Netflix. They're the same people who take Uber and Lyft. They're the same people who use food delivery services. I mean, Stitch Fix is another one, right? It's all millennials. So we're very creative. And I think we're just better at creation than destruction. Another reason I think that is because it's human nature to not want to die or kill, right? That's why, like, back in the day, and I want to say during the Revolutionary War, the targets were circles, and it was a lot easier for soldiers to shoot at circles. But then when it came time to kill other humans, I want to say it was the Battle of Gettysburg, they found like over half, I can't remember the exact stat, but over half of the shots fired were intentionally missed, you know, because it goes against human nature to kill other humans like that en masse. So now, like, when we were in the military, we trained with silhouettes or actual targets with faces, right? And like human bodies. And then we did force on force training with sim rounds because we had to wire the brains to work that way. So with all that being said, I think we're way better at creation. I mean, art is another big one, right? Art kind of died out after the Renaissance and became very popular during or right before the Great Depression, and then in the 60s it became a thing again. And even now, I mean, art is in video games. That's a real thing, you know, for people to use technology to create art or video games, and even movies. A lot of the kids' movies that we love to watch, Jared, like what was Pixels, right? Was one of the good movies that we were like, wow, we slept on it. So with all of that, I just think we're better at creation than we are destruction. But we do suck because we do have some, like, we literally have weapons of mass destruction. I can't remember the exact math, but we have X amount of nukes on the planet to destroy the world hundreds of times over. You know what I mean? So we're capable. I think we're much better at creation.
Yeah, I think we're better at destruction, honestly. And I say that because I was kind of conflicted, because I was like, well, we're not gonna pretty much, or rather, I lost my train of thought while I was gonna say that. But a lot of times, humans, what we don't understand, we destroy. You know what I'm saying? And that's been the case for, I mean, I don't know, probably since the beginning of time. And I was conflicted between that and thinking, well, we're not going to create something, or rather, a lot of times they're going to, I don't even know how to put it, man. Shit, I don't know. It keeps eluding me, so I'm just not going to keep searching for it because there's going to be a lot of pauses. But I'm just going to go with like just the fact that it's easier to destroy something than it is to create something. Oh,
I agree with that. I think it's a lot easier.
So with that, I would say humans are better at that. I mean, there is a ton of creations, you know?
Because I kind of feel like, depending on if you're going to lean left or right, that we are better at destroying or better at creating. It's going to come down to, are you going to factor in like the intelligence wisdom factor? Because like Stephen kind of alluded to it, that how did you word it? Well, to paraphrase it, you were like, over time, we have gotten better at creating. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has been a gradual increase over the course of history. And because of that understanding and that wisdom, we are able to create better than we can destroy as we gain that knowledge of what Brian just said, that humans tend to destroy what we don't understand. I think once we understand something and the repercussions behind it, then we learn and adapt, which goes hand in hand with you, Stephen, that to tie it together, Brian says that we destroy stuff because we don't understand it. So like, let's look at that as in hunting. So we overhunt a specific species of animal. And then we find out about this word endangerment. You know what I'm saying? So like now, oh shit, we know better. Let's backtrack. Like, let's create a farm that specifically houses, you know what I'm saying, which leads to better creation. So I mean,
there is an actual historical example where when the Spaniards were conquering the Aztecs, they didn't understand. I think we've talked about it. They didn't understand their floating aqueducts, like their floating gardens, that the Aztecs used this marsh irrigation system where they have floating gardens. So the Spaniards destroyed it because it was like, whoa, this is witchcraft. Basically, like, this, only God can have this power. And I mean, yeah, the Aztecs were half naked running around, but you know, and they made a lot of human sacrifices and this and that, but they really did have the advanced agriculture. And so it was literally destroyed because the Spaniards could not fathom it. It's happened, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing too. It's like, we create those things, those weapons of mass destruction, though. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it kind of is like right down the middle. It really is. But
I'm just really shocked that this is the first time I'm being positive, and you're kind of saying
the world is grim.
Like,
nah, I mean, I guess that's just like my initial like automatic response, like, oh, it's destruction, you know. But I mean, now honestly, I'm kind of like leaning towards more in the middle, just because, like, yeah, what I just stated earlier.
No, I get it. I'm way better at beating stuff up and breaking stuff than I am painting. So I totally, like, on the basic level, you know what I'm saying? You know. Yeah. So I get it, but I just think overall creation. Otherwise, I don't think we would have made it this far. And, you know, yeah. I think that wraps it up, though. I'm good on that one.
All right. Let's go to. Okay, hold on. Let's go to the second question. This question is going to be, is suffering a necessary part of the human condition? What would people who never suffered be like?
So, suffering and the idea of suffering is actually why at one point in my life, when I was really questioning faith, I kind of broke it down to between Christianity and Buddhism. And what I really didn't like about Christianity was how much suffering Jesus had to go through, right? I didn't think that was cool that old boy had to suffer as much as he did, right? And then he was crucified and stabbed while he was being crucified. Like, damn. And he was just so cool about it. And so me, I didn't like it because it was just an unnecessary amount of suffering. So then I chose Buddhism. But the story of the first Buddha was that he was a prince who grew up in the temple and he never knew suffering. And then he saw an old man die. He saw a man die from natural causes, an old man. So then he abandoned the temple and he left behind his wife and he went out to seek the meaning of life, and he saw a lot of different things he didn't quite understand. So I think with all that being said, though, it's kind of funny because my answer is going to contradict myself and what I just said. But again, call me Curveball Steve, man. I think suffering is necessary. It's unfortunate, but it's part of life. And I think it goes with balance. And if you've never had any sort of suffering or any sort of trials and tribulations, I kind of see you as like, that jerk Landon who wears the pink flannel and the short cargo shorts, and his dad will sue your ass because he has all the money in the world. You know what I mean? You kind of end up like that. You're actually in a way cheated. And I don't want to say that you're stupid, but the way you view life is not real because you've never had something like that. As to whereas all three of us have suffered tremendous losses, man. Like, I've lost a sibling, and so because of that, I know how to cherish the time with the siblings I still have. I was a child, and so because of that, I cherish my children more that I do have. You know what I mean? So I think suffering. I hate to sound so cliche and I sound like my dad a little bit, but whatever. Kind of builds character.
Yeah.
I think if you don't suffer, you just, you don't suffer, then the most minor inconvenience of your life just ruins your whole day or your whole week or whatever. As, compared to you go through some suffering and then you catch a flat and you're just like, well, I got to change this flat. I could wait for the insurance guy to come change it, or I can just go ahead and change it. But I need to get to where I'm going, and I'm the only one's going to help me. So I think it's necessary mainly for balance and character development. I hate contradicting myself and sounding like my dad, but it is what it is. There's truth to it.
Yeah.
So that's
I think you absolutely need it. Like, you can't have the good without the bad. Like, you can't. Like, life is about balance. You have to have balance in all things. You know what I'm saying? If you go through life honky-dory, never get to experience suffering, sorrow, sadness, I think a byproduct of that, which is the second part of the question, is you would just lack overall empathy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would have such this, pretty much like what you were saying, Stephen, you have such this jaded view of reality that you wouldn't even be able to emotionally connect with another person, you know what I'm saying, who is going through a situation that is what could be deemed as beneath yours. Like, nothing in life is good if the balance tips one way or another. Even if you diet too long without shock, you know what I'm saying, like without shocking your system, like it can have bad effects. Like, So I take that stance on, like, yeah, you absolutely have to have it on that before I go any further.
I don't think you can be in a physical body without suffering. It's like the Buddha said, life is suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. I mean, think about it. From the moment you were born, you know what I'm saying? You already yelling and screaming in agony. You know what I'm saying? That's suffering already. And men, like, not to get too like TMI, but circumcision, bro, that's like, come on, dude, that's suffering. That's trauma that early. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, there is no way possible. I don't see how you could experience suffering. Even like you guys mentioned, like the guy who grew up like with all these privileges, they still experience suffering. It's like to a more commoner person, it's not really suffering because like, oh, well, my dad didn't buy me this car and they're all upset shit. To them, they're suffering. Like,
Right.
There's degrees of suffering, but it's like you can't be down here without suffering. But let's just say, for the sake of this question, let's say, just like the story of Siddhartha, like he didn't have any suffering. Like he was just pretty much shielded from it. Let's say that was to happen to somebody. Yeah, it goes back to what y'all was saying. It's like you're gonna just gonna be. I don't see how like Jared said. I don't see how you can empathize with somebody. I don't see how you could just fit in, just like be a part of normal society without going through it. I mean, life is suffering, and most of that suffering is mental as well. Now, also, I want to go and say, is suffering necessary? Is suffering a necessary part of the human condition? It is, but I also feel like suffering can cease after a certain point.
Mhm.
And I feel like that comes like after you've freaking reached enlightenment, you know, when you pretty much have disassociated or just surrendered to life. And you just accept what happens. Like I heard this one quote. It's so simple, but it just struck a chord with me. And this dude, he was like, he's like this spiritual like teacher. He was getting interviewed, and he was like everything's perfect. And the guy interviewing, he was like, well, what do you say about the person who this happened? You know, they lost a child. This happened. It was like, I've thought about this answer, so I don't want to sound like an asshole when I say this, but what else do you expect on a planet? I was just like, dude. And that shit it just really resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, what, like you're on a planet, like that's to be expected. You're gonna have these shitty moments. You're gonna have natural disasters. You're gonna have all this fucked up shit happen because that's part of human experience. So yeah, suffering is necessary.
It's unfortunate, but I also feel like me personally, every time I've had something happen, and maybe it's the warrior spirit, I don't know what it is in me, but I've always kind of rose above the suffering because I eventually realized that the only way out is through. And I've had some suffering last years. I've had some last month. I've had some abstract suffering, right, where it doesn't make sense when you compare it to other trials and tribulations. But I don't want to call it a test. However, you have a choice. Do you want to wallow in it, or do you want to learn from it and be better from it, right? So that's another reason why I say it's necessary. Now, I'm not saying God is up there like, you know what, we're gonna need some good character development. Let me go ahead and just sprinkle in some suffering. I don't think it's like that. I think it's gonna happen to everyone, and you have a choice to, to take it for what it is and to readapt or to not. And the way I kind of see it is life to me, when you take risks like I do, and not unnecessary risk, like, oh, let me get drunk and drive, let me go. No. I mean, just like when you do things most people won't. I kind of see it as in like being at the beach, and then you go into the ocean, and the ocean can be dangerous, whatever. But then a riptide sucks you out, and I feel like, me personally, I don't fight it when it happens. I let myself go through the motions, and then once it's done, I swim back to shore, and I know how to. That's just how I see suffering, man. That it's gonna happen. You're gonna go in the water. Something's gonna happen. Whether it's a riptide, whether it's a wave crashing you. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movies where you get under and then you come up and then another wave hits you right there, right? But whatever it is, it's gonna pass.
Yep.
And I always remind myself of that, whether it's talking to you guys offline, right, or whether it's in counseling or whatever it is, but it's not permanent. And every time I come out of that, I feel like I'm a better swimmer, which means, I'm a better person, or I have a little bit of wisdom I take away from it. Because even when it's really ugly and really just shitty, I can either just look at it and be like, oh, or it's like, well, there's a lesson to be learned. Mm-hmm. Ain't nothing to it, ain't nothing but a peanut. Just gotta press on, man.
Yeah.
And I feel like without that, I would be a total douchebag. If I didn't go through any of that and I didn't know what I knew, after the fact, that I would just suck. I'd be bland. It's almost like I see suffering as like actually, it's 100% right. You look at any movie with a character, especially like MCU, they all have their own parts of suffering for their character arc and their development. And a lot of the times that suffering either creates a villain or creates a hero.
Bro, it's just like Joseph Campbell's what's it called?
Hero of a Thousand Faces.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's that plot that happens to each and every person.
Yeah. And so
like a visual kind of representation of like a person who didn't have struggle, who lacked empathy. Let's take it back to old school. We all done seen it. Let's take it back to Fresh Prince.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Exactly.
Leave my man alone, dude.
But like let's go back to the earlier episode where Carlton and Will were tasked with driving a nice car to the golf course for Uncle Phil's friend, and they got pulled over by the cops. They got racial profile, they got sent to jail. Obviously, Uncle Phil them didn't play that, got them out of jail. But if you remember before the episode went off, Will and Carlton was having a conversation in the living room in which, Will was trying to tell Carlton, like, we was put over because we was black in a nice car. And, and Carlton was like, no, we got pulled over because of this. Like, you're just, I'm saying, like, you're looking too much into it. And then it was going back and forth, back and forth. But ended up leading to Will just going to bed saying, screw it. And then Carlton's sitting down on the couch and he's like coming to his realization, like, well, if I was a cop, I would have did the same thing. So that's kind of the same thing of, you know what I'm saying, of if you never experienced struggle, you can't see the other side of things. Carlton had been so pacified and used to a certain lavish lifestyle, he couldn't understand the reality from Will's point of view. Mm-hmm. I just kind of made that correlation, you know what I'm saying? But as we were talking, that scene came to me.
Yeah. Kind of, he couldn't understand what Will's because he was so sheltered.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was so sheltered, like he couldn't connect. Like he didn't have that empathy to see why Will was so riled up, so angry.
And now that I think about it, like the plot with the first 2 or 3 seasons is Will exposing Carlton to a bunch of wild shit. From like, Will is just like, bro, it's just another day. And Carlton's like,
But as time went on, Carlton started to learn the other side. You remember he had the episode where the fraternity didn't want to let him in.
Right, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
And he snapped off on a dude, because I don't measure up to your level of blackness and all that, So I mean, it's actual visible representation of a person who was never exposed to something and how they would react to it if they was faced with it.
Yo, so when Steve was talking though about he's saying like basically when shit happens, it's pretty much you look at what lesson you can gain from it or what lessons be learned from it. It reminded me of this guy I've been listening to lately. His name Peter Cron, like Peter in regular common spelling, and last name Crone. Look this dude up. They call him the mind architect. He's a dope ass. Check him out. So he got this saying. It goes, life will present you with circumstances and people to reveal to you where you are not free. And like once you understand that and you start like doing inner work on yourself, it's shit so profound. Because it's basically kind of going back to what Steve was saying. Like, I believe that there's tests like that you go through. It's one of the universal laws. I can't think of it right now. But essentially, it's the universe or the creator, whatever you want to call it, pretty much revealing to you where you're not free. Or you can look at it from the standpoint of, let's say you attract a certain type of person, right? Because it's internally in your subconscious, you're attracting that type of individual because of some past shit that happens, right? You're going to keep attracting that type of person. And basically, you're going to keep attracting that person because it's revealing to you where you're not free in some areas, right? And you can apply that to anything, right? Like if you, whatever, like I did it to myself recently. I just thought about what are some of those memories that I had where it's like, I just think about it and I just cringe. I'm like, why did I do that or whatever? And then I'll analyze them all. And I was like, what is pretty much life trying to show me? Like what area am I not free at? Like looking at that and I'll dissect and I'll figure it out. I'm like, oh shit. And then I'll relate it to another thing that happened. I'm like, oh shit, it all correlates. And then quite recently, I just realized, like, look, this whole thing is one thing that's from childhood that I've been dealing with. But pretty much bring it back full circle. It's just life and suffering. And even though you got these shits when you were a child, most of the time we are operating from the subconscious programming of being a child. It's like the shit is unavoidable. The suffering is. So yeah, it's that absolutely necessary. Absolutely.
I just feel like we lectured people, and I don't know why. I feel like this question was a little bit of a lecture.
Yes, take notes. But
there will be a test.
Pop quiz.
Yeah. People unsubscribe, unclick.
I guess we can jump right into the last topic. This topic, 1 second, is it more important to help yourself, help your family, help your society, or help the world? Family, yourself, society, or the world?
I say yourself.
I do too.
I say because you got to take care of if everybody take care of themselves and everybody's taken care of, you know what I'm saying? You can't pour from an empty cup. So in order for me to help my family, society, and the other one was, I have to be my best version. You know what I'm saying? It's like by everybody striving to be the best version of themselves, that helps out your family because your family is working on themselves. That helps out society because society as individuals are working on themselves. So
wait, so you saying you want to help your kids? You saying you're gonna help yourself first?
But how can I help them if I'm not at my best self?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you ain't getting the best version of me, am I really helping you? You know, so it's like I have to focus on being my better me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you know, in that lesson in life should be taken with like a lot of situations, you know, like don't focus your attention on the wrong thing. Focus on it within. Like correct yourself. You know, like what's the one saying? Like correct how you look at things or how you think and you see things differently.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Exactly. Yeah, that pretty much. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I can't help you if I'm not at my best. The case in point, perfect example. When you get on a goddamn airplane, what is the safety briefing? If we take on water, put on your safety vest first. Mm-hmm. And then you worry about the next person. You can't save the next person if you in distress too.
Absolutely. And I just threw that little bit in because I know it's some parents out there. It's like, nah, my kid first. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But look, you got to help yourself first. If you're drowning, you can't help somebody else that's drowning too. You know what I'm saying? Either you got to get the shore and throw some shit out, or you got to know how to swim. But don't expect to help somebody else out when you're fucked up. You know? But I don't even think you can. What's the question again? Is to help? Yeah, I don't think you can help the world. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's too grandiose. But yeah. This might contradict what I'm about to say. So it's like people want to know how to achieve world peace, right? How do we achieve world peace? Will it ever be a thing? Well, us as an individual all together make up the collective, right? So if you want world peace, you must first find peace. and then the next person finds peace, and then the next person finds peace, right? Individually. You can't go stop a motherfucker and say, you better find some fucking peace or I'm gonna keep smacking. Like, what? No. You can't be forceful with it. You find your peace, and by proximity, you know what I'm saying? Just by you walking at peace, being at peace, speaking with peace, people gonna notice it. I'm like, damn, what's up with you, man? It's like, damn, you just seem more at ease, right? You just seem peaceful. Like, well, I found peace, and you can pretty much tell them the steps you went through, and then that person can take that advice. Maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't, but they find peace, and the next person find peace, and then as a whole collective, then you can have world peace. But you got to help yourself first. So yes, help yourself before family, society, and yeah, don't even waste your fucking energy trying to help society, because they ain't having it. All right. They ain't gonna listen to you no matter what the fuck you say. You can be pro this, they're gonna be opposite, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is. But yeah, you gotta help yourself first.
I kind of I'm a little bit, I agree and I disagree to an extent. And the reason I disagree is like I've always, as long as I can remember since I've had money, I've always helped lost causes. And what I mean by lost causes is like I could, there's plenty of different examples I could think of. So like back in the summer of 2013, my younger brother and I, and this is when he was super into Christianity and I was really, learning about Buddhism. We went downtown San Diego, and I was on leave, must have spent like $300-400. I don't know. I spent a good chunk of change, and just getting groceries, right, from like Walmart. And so it was like Uncrustables, canned oranges, flip flops, soap bars, washcloths, some tampons, and what's the other one? Pads for homeless women, because that's like a really big thing with homeless women, is not having the feminine hygiene, and they get sepsis, all this other terrible shit. And we actually kind of documented it, but then I never put it out there because it just didn't feel right. I was like, I don't feel like I should be recording it. Now, the reason we were recording it was to prove that a Buddhist and a Christian can do good things together when they don't worry about who's right and who's wrong, and they just kind of believe in their message. Even before that, I was a kid, I would see people like in Mexico. I'd see people in Tijuana, and I'd give them whatever money I had. People would be missing a leg, or I was a kid, and these were like clearly hungry or filthy, whatever it is. And so I always felt better when I did that. Even when I first moved down here in Texas, man, I was an Uber and Lyft driver in San Antonio, and towards the end of my shift, or when I was done or whatever, or if I just happened to see it. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of homeless downtown San Antonio. So that Denny's over there by the Riverwalk, I'd always go there to go pee or go ahead and have a break, stretch my legs, and there'd always be a homeless person or two. And I'd always be like, hey man, you want to sit down and have a meal, or, word? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, and I always felt better doing it. And I never said anything to anyone about it, because I just feel like when you do that, you're just kind of an asshole. I would let my ex-wife know. Maybe I'd be like, hey, I'm running late because of this, or like, I couldn't. Or sometimes I'd see a homeless person and remind me of my brother, and I'm like, and you know what I mean? I couldn't ignore it, because maybe deep down it was like, well, I'm doing this, and hopefully someone's gonna do it for him. And at one point in time, my other brother was homeless with kids, so it was kind of one of those things where I almost had to do it, and it didn't bother me. But there was several times where like I go in and they're like, hey man, or whether it's a dude or chick, they're like, hey, I want to hug you. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, of course, absolutely. And several times I gave them a ride. Several times I came home with no sweater, even in Germany. I would do that. And the reason is it always brings me peace to know that, I ain't got all the money in the world, but I'm doing the right thing. I see something I can do about it. It's not gonna fucking help society.
Yeah.
I don't do that. And then, you see these videos. I'm sorry, I think they're stupid. But you see people that go out, they give a homeless person a bunch of money, and then they buy them a hotel room. Yeah, that's nice. And they're like, yeah, you're going to get a job and you're going to do this. And it's like, for me, I'm just like, dude, I don't hope to do that, because if that person wanted to, I truly believe they would have. But I can at least help as much as I can. And it kind of brought me peace, and it made me, I don't want to know, more compassionate or more open, but I always feel better doing that. You know, whether it's at the gas station, there's plenty of times too when I was an Uber and Lyft driver. You know, I'm stopping at a gas station for Red Bulls or whatever because it's, you know, 3 a.m. or 1 a.m. There's, you know, a homeless person outside. Hey, man, you want to come inside? Or, hey, man, you want to come inside? I'll let you pick out a few things. Really? What do you want? I don't want anything. I didn't have to say anything. So I feel like I've always done better when I do something for someone else. Like, I always feel better about it. And maybe that's just my own fucked up way of justifying karma, I guess. I don't know. I really don't know. But I can also see where if you're not helping yourself, you're not going to be there, because I have poured my cup and gotten nothing in return, and it broke me down on my core. So I think it's important to help when you can, if it's something you believe in, or if it's something that you know you can afford, right? I remember one time in Germany specifically, I don't want to call it good karma, but it was like I gave dude one of my sweaters, and I just so happened to be going shopping with one of the homies anyway. And then it's like a coat I wanted was 60% off. It was like, oh, don't mind if I do. You know what I mean? So I can understand the need of needing to take care of yourself, but I was not happy as an Uber and Lyft driver. And so maybe that's why I did what I did as often as I could, because it would actually bring me joy to feed somebody something, even if it's gas station pizza with a water, a soda, and some chips. That is nothing to me, but that is everything to someone else for that night.
And I think that's the thing right there. It's like, I get what you're saying, but it's like, if you were in a predicament where it was either, okay, you pretty much, you have to, you only got like $5 left, and it takes $5 for a meal. You buy for yourself, or do you give it to somebody else? And you know, like, if you don't get this meal, you don't know the next time you will eat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, well, because you have it, it's like, yeah, you pretty much already helped yourself to be in a position where you have that money, you know, so you can help others. But it's kind of like,
a lot of the time it was my tip money that I used.
Yeah, you had it, you know. I think the question is more so like, which one do you help first? You know, yourself, the world, your family, society.
You know what? I had it, yeah, but this was also when I was still this was like my fat Thor phase, bro. Like, I was still a really broken person.
Yeah,
fat Thor.
So, well, hey, man, it was true, you know. So maybe that's why I did it, was to feel better. I don't know, but I did that even before I was fat, Thor. So I guess it doesn't make much sense. I feel like you should help others if you can, because it does help you. That's just me.
That's it right there. If you can. If you like, I'm not like, with my answer, I'm not saying.
So the reason I say if you can is because I'm comfortable talking to crackheads with missing teeth, or if they're not crackheads, they're straight up homeless. It doesn't scare me. A lot of people are not comfortable, or, you know what I'm saying? They're not, they just don't feel safe doing it. And to me, it's just, you know what I'm saying? There was times, bro, where money was tight, and I was still doing that, where it was like, I'm not even hungry, but I'm gonna go ahead and just sit down and order a coffee and some eggs, because I know this homeless person that I just invited for a quick meal is starving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I was pretty broken when I was doing that a lot, but I felt like I had to, and I couldn't ignore it. And time is money as a Uber and Lyft driver. So I'm giving a couple bucks, but I'm also missing out on a half an hour of potential work, or an hour of potential work. Because, you know, I will be honest, there were some times where it's like, hey, do you need a ride anywhere after this? Really? And sometimes they would take it, sometimes they wouldn't. But if they didn't, I would just pay the bill, right? And then leave and be like, hey, you know, because now that you're a paying customer, you could stay here a little bit longer. You can use the bathroom. You can chill. it's cold outside or it's hot outside, whatever the case may be. So I was still pretty broken and pretty low, but I felt like I had to, man. And maybe that's just, I don't think it was self-righteous at all. I just felt like I had to.
Gotcha.
And it was a lost cause. I knew I didn't change anyone's life, but at least I gave them a better 2 hours.
I mean,
for whatever it is.
I wouldn't call it a lost cause, you know.
Well, a lot of people with, you know, they're like, oh, you didn't really. It's like my goal, my end game wasn't to help society. Fuck society. My end game was to help this person here in the now, because that's all I can really attribute.
Mm-hmm.
It's right here, right now. I can't be here for you forever. I got a kid at home. I got a baby at home with a pregnant wife and another baby on the way. Well, now ex-wife, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I knew going into it, it wasn't one of those things. So that's why I say helping other people, it helped me.
Yeah.
And it made me more.
But you help yourself. So you help yourself.
Not really. It just it made me more appreciative, man. Like that I had a family to go home to, that I had a home to go home to. So then it kind of like grounded me, and it's like, yeah, you know, I'm not making as much money as I want or whatever, but at least I have this. At least I have a healthy baby and a healthy baby on the way.
I get it. Like I told my younger brother this. I was like, one of my goals is get to the point where I'm so financially just free, where I can always keep a couple hundreds on me. And every time I see somebody just out ask for money, boom, here's a dub. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what the fuck they do with it. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you're going to get drugs or you're lying, whatever the fuck. Hey, look, man, you asked for it here. Boom. That's actually one of my goals, just to get to that point. So I get it.
I'm going to test that theory.
I said, once I become
let me get a dub.
Bro, you the manager. You the manager.
Jerry right there. Ryan his Venmo. Request $100.
This man flying on private jets to his job. Like, I don't want to hear it, bro. I don't want to hear it.
How?
You know why he brought up the Fresh Prince analogy? Because he has a Jeffrey.
Yeah, named Major. What the?
Yeah, no, I'd be sweeping his living room. Hey, son, can you lift your feet up? Come back later.
Go.
No, I feel like naturally though, it's kind of our duty to want to help. That's just me. Maybe because I'm a weird asshole, but you know, obviously within reason. But
yeah, I mean,
I feel like I've always done better. I don't know.
I feel like honestly, I feel like that's part of everybody's mission here. It's like once you get your shit together, then you help the next person, the next generation, or your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? So I get it.
But like even if you helping other people, couldn't you still look at it as in you're still helping yourself first?
I look at it as you helped yourself enough where now you can help others. That's how I look at it. So
or because you know, what was that one experiment that was done in with rats, and if a rat pushed a button, it knew it'll get a treat. If it pushed the other button, it wouldn't get nothing. So it got to the point where it knew that and just kept pushing the button to get the treat. That can almost be looked at with humans. Like if by me buying groceries for a stranger or buying a homeless person a hot meal or giving somebody my jacket, though that is good in nature, I feel as though we tend to do things like that because yes, we know it's right, but also because of the way it makes us feel.
Yeah.
It's pushing our gratification button. You know what I'm saying? So like knowing that I just bought this guy 4 for $4 at Wendy's, you know, who probably hasn't eaten in a couple of days. It gives me the warm and fuzzies. You know what I'm saying? I like that feeling.
Yeah.
Now, secondhand wise is also the right thing to do, but I like that warm, bubbly feeling of doing for somebody, you know? And that's kind of like, I believe how humans are is compared to the trick with the laboratory rats. Like once we realize that a certain act can trigger a specific and emotional response, we continue to do it. But the byproduct just happens to be beneficial to other society.
Yeah, I kind of equate it to like, you know, the analogy of you don't really like working out. You like the results you get from working out. It's like
Why are you talking about me like that, man?
It's like, would you continue to work out if you wouldn't get no serotonin release, you ain't get no gains, you ain't get no fat loss, none of that shit? Majority of people, no. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? No. I like the result I get from it. I mean, I guess you can kind of.
Yeah, I see what you're
the same
doing.
way. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's gonna help. You're gonna feel better when you're helping others. Like that's why I like life coaching so much. You know what I'm saying? That's why the majority of people do what they do. If they're like a teacher in like personal development, anything like that, they're doing it because they like that feeling they get when other people have breakthroughs and they're so like just appreciative from the work they just did or whatever. So yeah, I mean, because it kind of sounds like you're being selfish. You're like, well, I helped them because it made me feel better.
But I never post about it, man. You would never know. Honestly, most people, especially from Ellsworth, would never peg me for that type of person.
Bro, honestly, I feel like the majority of people don't post shit they do. It's just them fucking, those motherfuckers is just want fucking views, clicks, and some type of notoriety that post the shit.
That's why I didn't post when my brother and I were downtown San Diego, because we made these little bags that had flip-flops, washcloths, soap, canned fruits, Uncrustables, hand sanitizer, just a bit, little shitty toothbrushes where, they're like $1 too, whatever, man. But I couldn't post it, and I couldn't really, because I was like, this doesn't feel right. This takes away from the reason I'm fucking doing it in the first place. Yeah. Why should I have to post it to prove a point? I have nothing to prove to y'all. Most of y'all watching this suck anyway. Like, that's how I felt about if I were to post it and get shares. Like, most of y'all suck. And then I kind of was like, am I going to encourage people to do this same selfish shit? Like, now you're posting it for likes as opposed to just, that's why I never posted, on Facebook, oh, me and the homeless homie Greg, like, why? Yeah. And so, yeah, I could kind of agree with that. A lot of people do things in silence. And whether it's because, their belief is, well, the Lord knows, or, karma will handle it, or I at least can be at peace with it. I mean, I can agree with that. It's just, unfortunately, we live in the age of social media and people want to give the appearance that they're one way when they're not. That's going to tangent, so I'll stop.
Well, is social media inherently evil? No, we already covered that. Yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna wrap it up because somebody over here yawning and shit. They ain't even trying to hide it. You're like,
I had a long day.
You're like one of them whales off of Finding Nemo.
Run it.
You about to take a jet over to you and give you the business.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is going to do it for this episode of the Unleashed GodCast. As always, for those of you new, at the end of the podcast, at the end of the GodCast, we'd like to ask you all if you have any suggestions, any topics you would want us to talk about, you want to hear us discuss, you can shoot me an email in the link in the description. You can put in the comment section. You can message one of us on social media. The links, all that good shit will be down in the description. But yeah, that's all we got. Until next time, it's been another episode. Peace.
On your feet, later make up the difference. Toss and turn in your sleep. Family, I know you miss them. Tripped and rock from the streets. Starting to get the picture. Fight for your life to feed. Watch how you turn out winning. This shit just easy me. I play the God.